Okay, so I've left this to dry for, it was about an hour. I had a cup of tea and a biscuit, I admit, and now it's time to put a second coat of paint on. It doesn't need masses. If I show you this drawer here, you can see that it's really good coverage already, but close up, you might not be able to see it on here, close up I can see some bits, particularly along the edges here, that could just do with just a little bit more paint. Doesn't need a full second coat. So what I've done is I've just added a splash of water into my paint mix, so that the paint has now got the consistency of, well, let's say single cream. So it will flow really easily over this surface and just give it that kind of top up coat. So I'll show you how I do that. I'll turn this around again so you can see this side. So I've just put a bit more paint on my brush, not a massive amount again, and I'm going to work quite quickly painting over this surface. Because the surface underneath was varnished, it was quite a shiny surface. So if I overwork the paint, there's a possibility that it'll pull the first coat off that shiny surface. So thinning the paint really helps with that as well. So I've got some paint here, and now I'm going to slap it on. See? Oh, wrong side. Here we go, this is where we want to be. So quite quickly, a bit more paint. If you feel your paint's too thick at this stage, just add a splash more water to it. But if you do add water, just make sure that you give it a really, really good stir in so it's fully mixed into the paint. This might actually be a little bit thick. It's fine, but I will add a bit more on for the second coat. Cheeky bristle. There we go. And again, as I did before, I'm just going to smooth it down. So that my brush strokes are all going in one direction. Water is very much your friend with this paint because it's a water-based paint. So if you feel it's too thick, literally just add in a splash of water. I'll just do this little bottom bit again, just to top up the coverage so I really can't see any of that old dark wood. There, I'm happy with that. And then I'll just carry on going right round the piece. I am going to add a splash more water. So if I show you here, so just a splash. There's not a load that I've put in there, but just a splash. But now I need to mix that really well so it's fully combined. So the mixing sticks are brilliant for that. Oh, it's really nice and juicy now. It should flow on much easier than that second coat there. There, I'm happy with that. So it's flowing a bit better now. So give it another quick stir, really well combined, and I'll crack on. So a bit more under here. It's a great opportunity as well to cover any bits that you might have missed. I missed a little bit there on the first coat, so by giving it this quick kind of touch-up second coat, we're away. There we go, and just smooth it down. That's it. So I'm not focusing on any areas in particular. I'm just giving the whole thing this thin down second coat. If you wanted a really kind of rustic look, your first coat of paint might have been thicker, so you might not actually even have ever needed the second coat. And this side here, I can see some bits down at the bottom here where I can see some of the wood coming through underneath. So same again. I always start at the top of a piece like this, or at the top of a side, because if I get any dribbles, I can pick them up as I work down. So again, it's just putting a coat on and then I smooth it out at the end. Got a little bit of something there, which I'll just take off. There we go, so there's the second coat on that side, and now I'll just smooth it down. Didn't do this little side here, let me do that now. Base bit again. And the top. So you see, it really is super quick and easy. A bit over here. So I'm not going over any area too much, so it lessens the chance of kind of lifting that first coat off the shiny surface. Just going all over it. And then smooth these bits out so that my brush strokes are all nice and even. If you want that sort of more of a kind of modern look. There we go, that'll do. And now the drawers. Just bring my paint over here. And then each drawer again, that quick second coat. You'll probably find that on the edges, near the masking tape, you really don't need very much extra paint there. But the bits that I had noticed that needed it were more on the, here we go, the inside of the drawer bit. So that's that, working nice and quickly, well, not too quickly, but not labouring over any particular areas. So here. And I'm really happy that this will be sufficient paint to cover all of that wood. And just smooth it out. There we go. One. So now the whole thing has now had kind of 1.5 coats of paint. I always put the first coat on neat out of the tin, all my mix. I don't dilute the first coat with any water. For the second coat though, I pretty much always do. A big reason for that is about the shiny surface, but another one is to save money. So your paint will go further if you dilute it. I'm now going to leave this to dry before I wax it. So the second stage of painting anything with Annie Sloan Chalk Paint is you do need to seal it to protect it. It stops it from marking and scratching, chipping. I tend to wax at least a day after painting, and that way I'm 100% sure that the paint is completely dry. So we'll come back to this probably tomorrow, and I'll show you how to wax it. See you then.